welcome back to another video here on my channel. In today's video I'm going to be going through wants to watch for the game week plus the game week 2 questions. Now wants to watch is kind of my take on the watch list series that a lot of other YouTubers do, and we're going to be going through each and every game in the game week, and we're going to go through players to watch, some questions that might arise, and other good stuff like that. Now if you do like the content here on my channel, please consider liking and subscribing. It'll help me grow this community, and a lot of other good stuff. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first game we're going to be going through is Aston Villa versus Everton. The player I've picked for Villa is Leon Bailey. Will he start? Does he pass the eye test? Do we keep or do we jump ship? Now, do we keep or do we jump ship kind of depends on how he does this game week. If he starts in the team, does well, then you don't jump ship, you keep him and hope other players will jump on him. But if he doesn't start, and if he doesn't do anything coming on from the bench or whatever, you might need to consider jumping ship before he drops in price, because his ownership is quite high, and a lot of players are going to be jumping ship if he doesn't do well this game week, upgrading to a 5.5 or 6 million midfielder, or even downgrading him to a 4.5. So I'd really look at that. Look how Leon Bailey plays. Does he start? Is he on the bench? Does he pass the eye test? And then kind of make your decision. Do you want to keep him or do you want to jump ship? There's one more good game for Aston Villa before we should consider jumping ship, in my opinion. And you really should try and keep him for that. But, I mean, if he's dropping in price, you should try and sell. So, another question here. Are they defensively sound? They invested heavily in their defense and midfield last season, well, in the summer. So, to me, with Martinez in goal, they should be quite defensively sound. They didn't show it against Bournemouth, but that might be a little bit of a hiccup. Any team can have that. Let's see how they look against Everton. And are there any other players we should be looking at? I mean, Coutinho, Watkins and Ings, Digne and Cash, those are the players I'm linking up here. If they're defensively sound, Digne and Cash are the players to go for. 5 million, great value, differential players. They can give you attacking returns, they can give you clean sheets. But if they're not defensively sound, you might want to go with Watkins or Ings, depending on who's starting. There are rumours that Watkins has kind of been at odds with Gerrard this week, and that's why he wasn't in the team against Bournemouth. But there are rumours that he's coming back in, so let's see how that looks. I think that takes away Ings' minutes, so I probably wouldn't go Ings, but if he looks good, maybe. Coutinho, 7 million, a lot of players decided to go with him. I mean, he is kind of tempting at that price, we know what he can do, but he hasn't really showed it at Villa, so maybe he's just one to watch, wait and see. So Everton, I picked out Gordon, McNeil and Gray. Look, the reason I picked these guys is because they don't really have a striker. DCL is injured. Those are kind of their go-to front three for Lampard, so I think McNeil against Chelsea was kind of playing in that number 9 role, the striker role, a lot of the time, but I didn't really notice. They could be fluent. Maybe Gray comes in, McNeil drops to the left wing, Gordon's on the right, and then Gordon comes in, Gray drops to the right wing. You know, they could be very fluent like that. McNeil might just play as a striker, and if so, there might be great value there. They didn't look all that bad. I think they looked better than I thought they would against Chelsea. They were a little more solid than I thought. Had their chances to score, and I mean, let's see how these guys look. If they pass the eye test, they might be the ones to go for at 5.5. Now, are they defensively sound? Just like I said, against Chelsea, they looked a little better. They looked like they were going to be doing decently until they conceded that penalty, and of course they conceded the injuries for Godfrey and Mina, but they've signed Connor Cody, so maybe they'll be defensively sound. That's something we need to look out for. Can Patterson be our Livramento? Now what I mean by that is Livramento last season started 4 million, was a starter for Southampton, did really well and was getting you clean sheets and sometimes assists, you know, attacking returns. Can Patterson be that? He looked good against Chelsea. He looked very lively, very attacking, very much involved. So that was good to see for a 4 million defender. Now, if Everton are defensively sound, then yes, he could be this season's Livramento. But if Everton are not defensively sound, we might need to look elsewhere, maybe at Neco Williams from Nottingham Forest. Now, are there any other players we should be targeting from Everton? Well, I mean, Mikolenko, really good player, 4.5 million. If they're defensively sound, he can get you attacking returns, a really good player. Now, Dele Alli, we know what he can do. He's a really good player on his day. He's just, 90% of the time, it's not his day. If he can find form, if Lampard can get him going, he could be a steal. He could be a really good player, a very good differential to go with. Now, I put Jordan Pickford in there because I kind of wanted to get that third Everton player. There are not that many players that I want to consider. This could be DCL, but he's injured most of the time, and he's injured right now, so we're not really looking at him. But Pickford gets saves, and if they're defensively sound, he can get clean sheets. He's England's number 1 at the moment, and they're going to the World Cup. He wants to be England's number 1 at that World Cup, so I think Pickford might be on for a good season here. Now, the next game we're going to cover is Arsenal against Leicester. Now, I've picked Gabriel Jesus here. Now, the question is, can he deliver? against Crystal Palace he had 11 touches and 1 shot in the box, and his expected points in fantasy were 3.3. Now, he underperformed, got 2 points. I think against the worst defence, I mean Crystal Palace defence is pretty good, so against the worst defence he would have got some shots in the box and probably scored some goals. He was very close, he was kind of trying to walk it in. If he just stops doing that and takes the shots, he might be golden for us. Now, are Arsenal the real deal, or is it just pre-season hype? They did well against Crystal Palace, had a few nervy moments. The first 20 minutes were brilliant, and they could have played Crystal Palace out of the park and out of the game, scoring 3 or 4 goals, but they didn't take their chances. I think they are the real deal, but we will see in the next coming weeks and the coming games how they look. Now, other players to keep your eye on: Zinchenko, Saka, Martinelli and Odegaard. Those are the players I've put down. I think in defence, you just want to go with Zinchenko if he's a starter. If he starts, brilliant. You can go with Zinchenko for 5.1 million. He's a steal. He could go into midfield for them. He's a very flexible player. Can go into midfield. He can play left back. And if Tierney comes back into the team, I wouldn't be surprised to see Zinchenko move into midfield. But I'd be surprised if Tierney starts this game. I think it'll be the same side that went for Palace. Tomiyasu and Tierney on the bench. Now, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard. Everyone has a pro, everyone has a con. Martinelli is the cheapest, but he's also most prone to rotation. Odegaard is like in the middle ground, 6.5 million, but he's kind of not the player. He gets the pre-assist. He doesn't really get the attacking returns in FPL all the time. Now, Saka is the one who's kind of the main man in that attack. He gets a lot of those attacking returns, but he's 8 million. He's the most expensive. So which one do we go for? I think we'll see in that game who is the go-to player. Martinelli got 8 points, Saka 6, Odegaard 3, so it's very close between them. I think right now our go-to player is Martinelli, but Saka might become the option very soon. Now on to Leicester. I've picked James Maddison as the go-to player here. Is he an option? I mean, he looked good in that Leicester game last weekend. He had 5 touches and 3 shots in the box, and his expected points were 4.9. Now he got 5 points, so he's just about on that edge. He assisted from a corner, so he's on corners for Leicester. No surprise there. He's on free kicks. He's that main man in that attack for Leicester. The reason I wouldn't go for him maybe right now is because he is rumoured to be going to Newcastle, and Newcastle are working on that deal. So if he goes to Newcastle, you might want to wait and see how he plays for them. Is he as influential as he is in the Leicester team? Is the Leicester defence as bad as it seems? I don't really think it is. People were making it out as if they were going to be this year's whipping boys, but let's see what happens. I mean, they were 2-0 up against Brentford until they substituted Dewsbury Hall. Then they kind of lost the midfield and conceded 2 goals. Bad management from Rodgers there, I think, and I don't think he's going to do that again. So maybe we'll have to see how Ward and Iverson go. They lost Schmeichel. Maybe that's a huge loss for them. Maybe it's fine. We'll see how it goes. Are there any other players you need to keep your eye on? I've highlighted Justin Castagne, Barnes and Vardy here. Vardy obviously for 9.5 million might be an overlooked player, a very nice differential for your striking lineup. I think there are too many strikers at the talking point right now that Vardy is just not going to get into this. Barnes on the other hand in midfield, 7 million, could be a steal for him, especially if Maddison leaves. I think he's more assured for minutes. That's the main issue. He's rotated a lot. But he's a good FPL player. He's a good asset to have. Justin Castagne, which one to go for there? Justin's been playing left back, Castagne right back. In pre-season, Castagne was playing right wing at times, but Pereira got injured, so Castagne had to go down into right back. I'm interested to see if Castagne goes right back up to right wing, and if he does, he's an out of position defender, and I don't think a lot of people are going to know about this. So for 4.5 million, he might be the Leicester defender to go for. Now on to Man City versus Bournemouth. Now, Erling Haaland, Dominic Solanke, those are the players I'm talking about. There are so many players in City that we could be talking about. But Erling Haaland, is it the hype or is it the real deal? Is he worth the outlay? Right now, the answer to this is he is the real deal and he is worth the outlay. That was against West Ham. He accumulated like 1.6 XG against Liverpool in the Community Shield. So he should be a really good option for every single one of us to go for. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to monitor him for the Bournemouth game. Now is the real test. People are expecting hat-tricks left and right. This is a game where he should be getting a hat-trick. He's going to be highly captained, highly owned. His EO is going to be through the roof. I'm expecting big things here. Are there other players we should be looking at? I've highlighted Cancelo and Walker. If they don't sign a fullback, Walker for 5 million, can he be our option to counter Cancelo? Can we do more with the 2 million elsewhere? We'll have to see. Right now Cancelo's in my team, but I'm thinking maybe I'll downgrade him to Walker. if they don't sign another fullback, but it looks like they will. De Bruyne, Gundogan and Foden are the ones to look in midfield. I mean, we could go for Grealish as well. I'm just not going to highlight their whole midfield. I could highlight their whole midfield right now. De Bruyne, 12 million. He is their go-to midfielder. He's going to start every game. Brilliant player. You know what you're going to get from him. Gundogan is going a little bit under the radar. FPLOlympian put a Twitter thread where he went for the reasons why Gundogan should be the one to go for. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Do check that out. Foden, I'm always expecting that breakthrough season for him where he just kind of becomes that one to own from City. Maybe this is his season with the World Cup in December. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. I put Alvarez there. If he can be more assured of minutes, which I don't think he will be this season, he could be a real option for 6.5 million. We'll have to wait and see with that one. Dominic Solanke for Bournemouth. Does he pass the eye test? I mean, he didn't return in the first game week. There was another striker, Moore, who returned in that game week. So maybe he is the one to go for. Maybe he's not playing the way he wants. Maybe, teams are blocking him because they think he's the one to, attack in that Bournemouth side. We'll have to see, and that's why you have to watch him. For 6 million, he might be a steal. Now, other players we need to look at, there are not that many. Kelly and Zamora from the defense. I mean, Kelly scored, so that's pretty good. Lerma and Billing from the midfield. Lerma scored, but Billing is mainly the midfielder to go for. If you watched my Bournemouth video earlier in the season, I've talked a lot about Billing and how he could be the midfielder to go for. But, right now, I wouldn't. Moore, he scored, so maybe he is the one to own, maybe he's the one to go for. We'll have to see. 5.5 million, he might be a good enabler. So next game, Brighton Newcastle. I'm just going to try and go through these a little faster. Pascal Gross, was it a fluke or is he here to stay? 2 goals against Man United, looked really good, was in the right positions. Brighton looked very good, but again, we need to wait and see with Brighton. Will they keep going, or will they completely crumble? This is a good game to see that. Are there any other players to look at? Dunk, Lamptey, Trossard, Welbeck and Undav. I mean, Welbeck is in such good form that Undav really isn't up for debate right now. But if Welbeck gets injured, which I think is just a matter of when, not if, then Undav could have that place and he could really nail it down. 5.5 million Undav is one to watch. Trossard, he's been playing kind of a wing back position for them, but he really pushes up when they're pressing, so one to watch, I guess. I wouldn't go for him right now, but maybe, if he can get some attacking returns, then maybe, the bandwagon can start rolling. Duncan Lamptey, great value, 4.5 million in a good Brighton defence. People are thinking, they've lost a couple of their brilliant players. Maybe they will be really bad this season. But again, they kept a clean sheet against Manchester United. Maybe they shouldn't have. United got some good chances, but Duncan Lamptey are the ones I would go for in that defence. Newcastle, I highlighted Callum Wilson. Could have been any other player really, but he scored in game week 1. But the question is, can he stay fit? He's usually very injury prone. But when he's fit, he is such a good forward and a good FPL asset. Now at 7.5, he could be a real differential. I don't think a lot of people can go with him when you have the likes of Mitrovic for 6.5, Darwin for 9, Haaland, Kane. There's just so many options. But if you want to go for him, I wouldn't blame you. Other players, I've highlighted Trippier. The thing is, this could be Target, but Trippier's on set pieces. Even though Target outscored Trippier last game week, I think Trippier is the one to go for. So just monitor how he does. Until he gets one attacking return, then the bandwagon will probably start rolling. Bruno Guimaraes and Saint Maximin, they're both really good in midfield. This could have been Joe Linton as well. He's really good in midfield for them. But Saint Maximin is more the explosive type who'll go quiet for a while and then have a brilliant game. Bruno Guimaraes is kind of just always going to be there, but is he going to be in that 6 role or that 8 role? That is the main question. Is he going to be a 10 for them? If he's at that 6 role, it'll diminish his chances of getting attacking returns and not make him that good of an FPL asset, but that's one to watch. Now the next game, Southampton and Leeds. Ward-Prowse was really good against Spurs, scored a goal. He had 159 points last season. Can he do it again? That's the question I want to know. For me, I don't think he will. I think Southampton will be really poor this season, and I'm expecting them to be a relegation battle. Now the other players, Djenepo and Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong is 5.5 million. If he can nail that striker spot at Southampton, then maybe he is the one to go for. Djenepo did decently, got the assist last game week, and he's quite cheap, so those are the ones to watch from Southampton. Now Leeds, they were very attacking against Wolves and surprised a few people getting the win from there. Rodrigo, 7 points because he scored a goal. Now can he keep his place? When Daniel James comes back in, I'm expecting more rotation in the Leeds side, and that might affect Rodrigo's output. So if you're willing to go for that risk, at 6 million, he might be a very good differential to go for. Are there any other players we should be looking at? Harrison and Aronson and Bamford are the ones I highlighted. Harrison and Aronson were really good in that Wolves game. Aronson was very lively, could have got some attacking returns, very unlucky maybe not to get one. And Bamford did get an assist, but can he stay fit? That's the question. Similar with Wilson, he is a really good asset when he's fit, but it's just a big if. Now the next game, Wolves against Fulham, I put Podence as the player to look at from Wolves. Can he compete with the other 5.5s? I mean, a lot of people are on Neto, but Podence scored the goal. What happens when Jimenez is back? I mean, does he drop out of the side? Does he drop to the wing? Does Neto drop out? We don't know. That's the big question. And if he keeps scoring, maybe Jimenez doesn't get his place back. Now, other players we should be looking at, I put Johnny there, and I put Neto and Hwang. Hwang was a striker last season, and he is 6 million, I think, in midfield for Wolves this season. So maybe if Hwang can nail that striking spot, he might be an out-of-position player that we would want to go for. And Neto, of course, on set pieces and everything. I wouldn't rule him out after one game week. Give him a couple of game weeks, see what he does. Johnny, if Wolves can be a little more solid defensively, he might be the one to go for in that defence. He's very attacking at 4.5, and I'd rather go for him than a centre-back. Now over to Fulham. Alisandro Mitrovic, he's a really good player. Can Fulham deliver for him? That's the question that I raise, because I don't doubt that Mitrovic has the quality to score in the Premier League. He showed us against Liverpool, he has that. But Fulham, they're a newly promoted side. I don't expect them to do as well. I think how long is it going to take for teams to read them or to study them, as I phrased there? How long is it going to take teams to just block them? Like block the output to Mitrovic, and will that will affect Mitrovic massively, and I think it will massively affect Fulham as a team. Now, are there any other players we should be looking at? Tete and Andreas are the ones I put there. Tete got the assist for the first goal, and Andreas Pereira's on set pieces. He's 4.5 million in midfield, so if you don't have him, you should probably look into getting him, because he is kind of playing like a 5 to 5.5 million midfielder. It's really good. You should watch that. Now into Brentford against Manchester United. Ivan Toney is nailed and he's on pens. Can he compete with the other forwards? I mean, he's 7 million. You could get Mitrovic for half that. You can get for half more. You could go for Wilson, Bamford, Watkins, other players, who maybe score a little more. But he is that main man in that Brentford attack. He did score a goal against Leicester, so he's up and running immediately. And he has that penalty effect. So I think he's one to watch. Other players, Rico Henry, Damsgaard and Da Silva. Damsgaard just signed for them, he's 5.5. I think he might be the 5.5 to go with, but this might affect Da Silva at 4.5, who just scored against Leicester. I don't expect Da Silva to start that many matches, because Damsgaard will always start the matches, and he's probably going into that Eriksen spot in that midfield, and that's where Da Silva was supposed to play. So I'm expecting Da Silva to be more of a substitute. Rico Henry had a really good game against Leicester. He got a really good attacking output. Maybe he's the one to go for 4.5 in that Brentford defence. But, remains to be seen. Manchester United, I've put Rashford down. He had really good chances and he really should have scored. But the fact that he's getting those chances is really, really promising. Now, how much game time will he get once Cristiano Ronaldo and Martial are willing to play and are available? That remains to be seen. Again, that's something we have to really think about, and really something we have to take note of. Are there any other players we should be looking at? I mean, Diogo Dalot was in the box and nearly scored a goal against Brighton, when it was an own goal. He was the one who got it kind of on his back and it was about to roll in, and they kind of just cleared it into another player and in. So he could have got an attacking return, which would have been brilliant. For 4.5 million, he is probably the defender to go for, as long as they don't sign another right back. Now, Eriksen, Sancho, Bruno are the ones to look at from midfield. 10 million for Bruno is a little too much for me. Sancho and Eriksen for 7.5 and 6.5, that's options. That's real options. And Rashford is, of course, also in that midfield. So they're competing with him for space in our team. And Eriksen looked good, apparently. Sancho, I haven't heard that much from. Rashford got the chances. Bruno was fairly quiet, had a few chances, but for 10 million, you need a lot more. So I'd probably look at Eriksen, Sancho, or Rashford. In the striking options, we have Martial and Cristiano Ronaldo. Which one is going to be nailed? I mean, how long is Ten Hag going to bench Ronaldo for? Is he going to bench him the whole season, just substitute appearances? I don't think so. Will Martial nail down that spot? Maybe. Maybe Martial will. But he's been injured. He'll probably start on the bench this weekend. So if he can come on, make an impact, maybe for 7 million, he is the go-to striker. Next, we have Nottingham Forest and West Ham. I would want to look at Neco Williams. He got a yellow card and conceded 2, so he got 0 points against Newcastle, I mean, he did play the 90 minutes, just as we expected, and he is the go-to defender from Forest. Can he be this season's Livramento? Is him or Patterson for me? Will he, and again, it's the question, will the Forest defence be good enough? Will they be defensively solid? If they will be, and if he can get some attacking returns, he will probably be the Livramento of this season. Maybe we'll have 2 Livramentos this season. Are there any other players to look at? Henderson, the goalkeeper, had 7 saves and got 3 points, even though he conceded 2 goals. So I think that is one to look at. If they can nail down that defense a little bit more and he can just save shots from afar, that's brilliant. And that's the goalkeeper that I'm hoping he will be. For 4.5, that might be a steal. Jesse Lingard came to them. He's 6 million. Brennan Johnson is also 6 million. Those are the attackers I'd probably look at. Johnson's pretty nailed in that side. Might have penalties. Lingard, of course, is likely going to be playing that 10 role, which is so important in the Nottingham Forest team. He's just roaming in between the lines, finding space to get the ball. So he'll probably get some attacking returns as the season rolls on. And if you need more information on Forest, do check out my Nottingham Forest preview video that's on my channel. Now, West Ham, Jarrod Bowen, will he be like last season? And can we justify paying 8.5 million for him? That's a good question. And I think right now the short answer is no. Will he be like last season? Only time will tell. And that's one to watch. 8.5 million, you're expecting a lot of output, and he's competing with Mount, Saka, Kulusevski, and more players for a spot in your team. I don't think we can right now justify 8.5 million for him. Are there any other players we want to look at? Honestly, Antonio and Scamacca are going to be rotating a lot, so those are the ones I would watch. But Antonio started, Scamacca came on, looked decent. I think there's too much rotation there. There's too many question marks about West Ham to go for them. They look good and they're ones to watch. Now over to Chelsea-Tottenham. This is the second last game. We have Reece James here. He got a bonus point while on a yellow card, so he's a bonus point magnet. But will he play right back, right wing back, or will he play centre back? For 6 million, a centre back in the Chelsea team, I'd rather just go 5.5 down to Koulibaly, or go to a 5 million Cucurella if he's going to be nailed in that side. But if he plays right wing back, he is probably the go-to defender from Chelsea, and maybe even the go-to defender in the game. Are there any other players we look at? Chilwell and Cucurella, of course, could be really good. Mount and Sterling could be really good. Havertz, I mean, if he can nail down the striker spot, if they don't sign another striker, then yes, for 8 million, Havertz might be a good differential striker. Mount and Sterling, we know what they can do. Sterling is 10 million, Mount is 8. Which one's going to be better? Only time will tell, but from the first game week, I wouldn't go for either. Chilwell and Cucurella, I mean, 6 million, 5 million. Chilwell is probably going to be nailed in that left wing back spot, and Cucurella is probably going to be playing left centre back for Chelsea. But we might see some games where Chilwell's taken off, Cucurella has moved to that left wing back spot, and from there he can get some attacking returns. So for 5 million, he might be a good differential. Now over to Tottenham. Kulusevski, he's the man of the moment, goal and assist. Can he do it again? Will he be rotated? We'll have to see. Are there any other players we will be looking at? I just put fullbacks down because I have no idea if Sessegnon's going to start against Chelsea, if Perisic come in, or if Emerson's going to start, or if Doherty comes in. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, look at those fullbacks. I want a Spurs fullback. They were so attacking and so influential in the attack during the game against Southampton. We need to figure out which one is nailed and get on that player immediately. Others, of course, Son and Kane. Kane looked like, he did last season. He dropped very much, he drops down into a CM position and kind of a deep lying playmaker, where Son and Kulusevski and the wing backs are just running onto his balls, and he's making long balls or through balls for them to chase, and then he arrives late in the penalty area, sometimes gets on the end of those balls, sometimes he doesn't. I'd rather go Son for 0.5 more, to be honest. Plus the forward options that we're getting, they look so good. So I can't really justify going for Kane for 11.5 right now, but wants to watch. Now the last game of the weekend, Liverpool and Crystal Palace. Darwin and Salah are the players that I've highlighted here. Will Darwin start, and will he impact Salah's output? That is something that people are questioning, because Darwin's always in the box. He's very lethal in the box. Looked really, really good and lively in both the game against City and against Fulham. So that's one to watch. Salah was very wide. That might impact his output, even though he got a goal and an assist last time out. And can we afford them both? Probably not. So will we have to go without Salah? Well, we have to go without one of them, and only time will tell which one we're going to pick. Other players to target, TAA and Robertson, really, really good players. Didn't deliver against Fulham, but I'm still holding out hope that they will be good this season, and I think they will. Diaz looked very lively against Fulham. Jota, when he comes back, might take minutes away from Darwin. He might take minutes away from Diaz. We don't know yet, but Jota is a really favorite player from Jurgen Klopp. So I think personally he will be back in that side before long. And we'll have to see the rotation risks we have there. Now, Crystal Palace, we have Eze. He got a big chance to score and he was very lively and involved against Arsenal. He should have done a lot better and really should have scored. Can he compete with the other 5.5s? That's the question we have to raise. That's something you have to monitor and see. When players come back and are fully fit, they have the whole squad ready. Will he get the minutes? I think he will. He can take some set pieces for them. So that's one to watch again. I like Eze. I think he's a good player. Are there any other players that we should be looking at? In their defense, Anderson, Gehi, and possibly any of the fullbacks. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see with that. But they were a solid defense last year. I'm looking at Crystal Palace's differential defense, possibly when I wildcard later in the season if they're on a good run. Now, in the midfield, Saha looked very much on it. Gave Ben White a very hard day, although Ben White covered pretty well. And Olise, when he comes back from injury, he was so good last season. Just he needs the minutes. He needs the trust. And I think he'll get it this season. Eduard Mateta, who is number one? We don't know that yet. But I think one of those two is going to be their number one striker. And they're both fairly cheap, so there might be some differential punting going on there. So questions ahead of the game week. This is where we end the video. No Salah. Can we swap Salah out for Darwin? Watch the game. See who starts. And just try and look at, like, do they pass the eye test? Does Darwin even need to start to get some returns? So against Fulham he didn't need to. Against City he didn't need to. So he needs 30 minutes and he can be really deadly with his pace and strength up front. Now, I really hope we can go without Salah. I think it's getting kind of boring just captaining Salah permanently, although Haaland's kind of throwing that into a little bit of a screw. Can we swap him out? Only time will tell. I really hope so. Is Kulusevski the go-to 8 million midfielder? Right now he is, but will he do as well against Chelsea as he did against Southampton? Will he continue being that influential in the attack? Hopefully. For 8 million, that would be a really good steal and a very good differential to Son and Kane, although I think the community is going to be very quick to jump on him. So who are this year's whipping boys? Well, we have to think, what are whipping boys? Well, they're the team to target. You know, when you're Salah or Haaland or someone and you're playing like Norwich last season, they were the whipping boys. We were expecting teams to go out and batter them, absolutely batter them with 4 or 5 goals. This year, we don't know yet. Fulham surprised everyone. Bournemouth surprised everyone. People were expecting those two to be the whipping boys. They surprised us. So let's watch the games closely and see if it was luck, it was nerves, who knows. Are they as good as we think they are right now? Or are they actually the whipping boys? Let's see. Are there any other players who are looking likely to go on a hot streak, you know, becoming the bandwagons? Well, that's mainly Kulusevski in my opinion, and Mitrovic of course, and Darwin. I have a picture of all of them on the screen because they are the likely players going on a hot streak, and you might want to jump on early. So that's why it's good to roll a transfer for this game week, get a little more info, and then jump on some bandwagons for game week 3. But that's gonna end this video, guys. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking and subscribing. Leave me some feedback in the comments down below, or hit me up on Twitter to let me know, did you like the video? Did you like this Wants to Watch series? The questions ahead of the game week. And if you have any questions ahead of the game week, do post them to me on Twitter or underneath so that I can answer them or possibly put them in the next video. But that's gonna be enough for me, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.